Assalamualaikum guys. So today we will be discussing about selection. So what is actually selection? Selection is PHP syntax or programming syntax that provide the capability to choose, to choose which action to take related to certain condition. So let's say, but before that, we will be discussing about some kind of operators. So what does operator means? Operator means this is a comparison operator. So operators means symbols, or in comparison operators, this symbol, you have these two equal character put side by side. This is meant with the capability of comparing two values and checking whether both values, one in the right hand side and the one is in the left hand side, is equal value. So let's say here num is a variable. The num is a variable, so we don't know what is the content of num. So the program would like to compare whether this num contain the value of 100. So if it is if num contain value of 100, means that num is equal to 100, which result in true. True. So this comparison or this statement will result in a true statement. So whereas if num, the value inside num, the variable num, is, let's say, 0. So is it 0 equals to 100? No. Okay, in this statement, if num is 0, you will result, it will be the result will be true, sorry, false. The result will be false. So as long as num, the content of num is 100, so if you compare with another value 100, so it will be result in the value of true. So this operation or this comparison operators will provide the value of true or false. So let's say, okay, we have here the operator less than. So the second one is not equal to. So by right, it's very similar. The contra of equal to, not equal to. The third one is less than. Less than means that if num1 is less than num2, you will get the result of true. Okay, if num1 is the value of num1 is less than the value of num2, it will be resulted in true. Okay, you will get the result true. Okay, so let's say we put num1, we put number 10 in num1 and number 2 is 20. Is it 10 less than 20? So obviously 10 is less than 20, meaning that this statement will provide true as the answer of the comparison between num1 and num2. So let's say num1 is 3 and num2 is 2. Let's say num1 is, let's say, different number. So let's say num1, sorry, let's say we put num1 as 10. So let's say 10. So num2 is 5. Is it 10 less than 5? Obviously it's not. So it will provide false. So this is greater than, and this one is less than or equal to. So greater than means if it is marked is greater than 80, then this statement will provide answer true. And then the less than or equal to, referring to the value in sum, either it is less than 10 or it is equal to 10. So let's say you put 10 in sum, so what you will get is actually sum is equal to 10. So it will provide the answer true. Okay, so this is another one as similar as less than. This one is greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. So let's say sum is 10, greater than input is 10. So you will get the answer true because there is two conditions actually. You can see these two conditions. One is greater than and the other one is equal to. So if sum is 10 and input is 10, so you will get the answer true. Still true. So let's say sum is 10, input is 9, meaning that 10 is greater than 9. So still you will get the answer true. So how about if sum is 1, okay, and input is 5, okay, the comparison is 1 greater or equal to 5. So 1 is not greater than 5 and 1 also is not equal to 5. So you will get false as the result of the comparison operator. So that is the comparison operator, whereby we will be putting those comparison as example for this if statement. So a simple if statement is whereby you have one condition, okay, and one action. One condition and one action. So let's say we have one statement. If you have eaten, then you should be full, or something like something like this. If you got a grade A in your examination on your subject, so we can consider you as excellent student. Okay, if you get another grade such as F or something like that, then maybe you would like to print a result try again. So if followed by a statement, okay, an if statement, okay, an if operator is followed with the statement. So if we found that this statement is true, then this action will be executed. Okay, if this statement is true, then the equal statement for providing excellent output will be printed or will be executed, and the rest will be ignored. Okay, the rest will be ignored. So another example, if you have this what we call as form, okay, form. Sometimes or most of the time, the user will not provide any input for the text box. Somehow or other, they will leave it blank and simply press the submit button. So if that's the case, you will not printing, your program will not be printing any value. So let's say you have a username and password. You have username and password. So the user try to log in to the system without providing username and password. Okay, this is an awkward process, but somehow or other, user usually did that. Why? Maybe he forgot to provide the username, forgot to provide the password, and suddenly the user submit, okay, the request to log into the system. So if this kind of thing happen, obviously you will not do the next process, which is you still need the system needs to compare the username and the password as provided by the user with the username and password inside the database. So somehow how can you compare these two values if the user do not provide the username and the password? So this is one of the example that you can follow through, and what I'm trying to show you is referring to the previous exercise whereby we have the login form. So we have the login form previously as something like this. Okay, you just open the previous exercise where you have the login form, and the second, okay, this is the login form. Maybe I will tag this as login.php. Okay, we have file 1 login.php, and the second file is login display. Okay, this is from the previous exercise whereby you provide the form interaction, the previous exercise in chapter or tutorial T06. Okay, form input. So currently we are in T08. We are in T07. So this is the exercise as we have did this in the previous exercise T06. Okay. The second file is file 2 with the name display.php. Just simply use this exercise that we did previously. So one thing that this exercise will do is an interface. So before that, I would like to start the Laragon. So obviously you can start Laragon from the start menu, and then make sure to start this start all. And then if you would like to execute the PHP code, make sure to go to localhost. So localhost can be accessed from this button in your Laragon. See, you have the login.php. So let's say this is what developer expected from the user. They provide the username, the user provide the username and the password. And before clicking the login button, the user must provide username and password. This is what normally or typical programmer will expect. Okay, then they provide the username and password, but somehow or other, so let's say the user, okay, accidentally missed the username and missed the password. So when the user click the login button, obviously the server could not do anything. What do you mean by could not do anything? So the logic, the common sense of having a login page is to compare the username and password from the user, okay, with the content or the username and password as stored inside the database. So how can you compare if the user does not provide his username and the password. So these both items must be sent or must be filled, must be keyed in to the input. So let's say, you want to build a better system, or a system that can check whether the username and password provided. So how can you, before you do the comparison with the database, how can we build a system that can detect either the user provide the password or not? So still we have the same login form, but somehow I would like to change this into get. Get. Use get. So we can see the content, or we can see the transaction. Your dummy. And then since we use the form get, so change this into get. Again, I would like to remind you that handling password with get array variable is not recommended, because if you have a password transmitted to your system, you must use post. But somehow or other this is for exercise. So we have this method get, and you get the password. And before, let's say before we display the input value, the username and the password, I would like to compare, I would like to check whether the username and the password is provided by the user. So you can use if. So we can use if to check the content of the text box. So let's say if the username blank, if the username blank, if the username is blank, so how can you say that the username is blank? So you need to check the username, the content, with null. So if the username is null, means the username content is blank. So somehow or other, you can provide this kind of notification. To provide your username. Something like this. You can provide something like this. So this one is in display, sorry, it's not display. This process we do it in display.php. So you check first if the username is null, then do provide, this notification will appear in your output. So if the username is null, I'm just trying to use a simple if else. So let's say the second one is you want to check whether the password is null or have content. So you check the password like something like this. And if you found out that, if the program found out that the password is not provided, so this message will be appearing. It's something like that. So let's say let's say if both, okay, let's say if both, okay, let's say if both, let's say if both content are not provided. Okay, check the content, username. This part is whereby you have the username blank. Username blank. The second one is whereby you have the password blank, null. Okay, and the last one is where you check whether you have both. Okay, something like that. So you need to check, okay, the password. If the password is null and also the username, sorry, and the username. Okay, so the third option is if the username is null and the password also is null, then we provide this notification to provide your username and password. Else, so let's say you don't have anything, both, okay, so let's say both items or both input, username and password is provided, then you can have this else, okay, being executed. So you can see that here we have the what we call as the block. This is the if else block. If block. So this is a block. And we have another condition whereby the password is null. So this is another block for else if password null. And then the second one, the third one is the condition whereby the username and the password is null. So you provide this AND operator. AND means both must be true, so that it will provide this notification. The program will provide this notification. But somehow or other, if both input are provided by the user, it will go to this line whereby your username and password will be displayed. So this is the dummy password. So by right, in else, if you are doing some sort of username and password comparison, so inside else, by right, you will do the checking with the database. So because in else, normally you will get username and password provided. So inside this else, meaning that your username and password provided, the username and password provided, then after that you can do the comparison with the database. So somehow or other, maybe you would like to do some comparison, do db comparison. So something like this, okay. So you do the comparison with the database in this statement, in this last statement, because the first checking, you check username null. If the username null, then do provide the username. And if the password null, then you do something like this. If the username and password null, then you provide notification something like this. And if the username and password has been filled, key in by the user, then you provide this one. This is where the DB comparison executed. So let's say, okay, we have this username provided, but not the password. So you log in. undefined. Oh, okay, sorry. I need to refresh this. Reload, reload. Control R. Okay, you can do Control R for reload. So let's say the user provide his username, but not the password. Okay, do provide the password. This is coming from, okay, it's coming from this line. Okay, whereby the user does not provide the password. That's why you see this kind of notification, and somehow or other you see that the password is null. The password is null. The username is available. The content for username is available, but the content for password is null. And then what happened if the user forgot to enter both input? Okay, both input are null. Click login. Do provide your username, because yes, it checked the username first. It checked the username first. Yeah. If the username is null, it will come here first. Okay. So the first condition, the username null. Okay. So the rest of the condition are ignored. Okay. The rest of the condition are ignored. Okay, so somehow or other you need to provide this inside the nested loop or something like that. But it's not that important. Okay, later you will modify this condition and put it inside a nested loop or something like that. But somehow, if the username and the password are provided, then the user clicks submit. There. So it will go to the last option, whereby you have the else. Okay. So this is the last option, whereby you do the database comparison, and somehow or other you just provide the username and password. Okay. But warning, do not display password as such, because this is what we call as credential or secret or privacy information. So that do not provide password, something like this, and do not use get to process your password. You need to use post data array. So maybe later, after you have finished, okay, you have finished testing or debugging your program, then later you change this method into post. Okay, as get is not that secure lah. Okay, as get is not secure. Then you use this post. Okay, this is some sort of the first line of security. So if you use get, if you transmit a password, do not display, use post. Okay, do not display your username, your password. Okay, the user's password. Okay, because this is some sort of privacy or sensitive information. So let's say you have this, refresh, because we change the form. As we change the form, we need to refresh. Okay, refresh the display. Control R, or refresh, or you can use the reload. You submit, login, then okay. So let's say the user does not provide the password, it will display, notify, something like this. So this is how you can check your input or the user's input by using the if-else checking or data. Sometimes we call it data validation. So there's a lot of issues. There's more issues on data validation that, well, it can be helped by providing the if-else. Okay, so by that, I would like to say thank you. So now we know, okay, what's the purpose of if else statement. Okay, thank you guys. Assalamualaikum.